PMI Chennai chapter. I welcome you all for the knowledge sharing. The only thing that is constant is change, and it's very well known to us. Many of us are changing the workplaces, but today that's not the topic. Leading change towards productive workplaces is our knowledge sharing session topic. To deliver this, we have our speaker, Dr. Susan Elias, who has 25 years of experience. She is passionate about research and has been a principal investigator for 2 projects funded by DRDO. Currently, she is focusing on design of smart environment for solving socially relevant applications. She is involved in biomedical products to align her passion with Make in India. I welcome our guest, Dr. Susan Elias.
So good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to have got this opportunity to spend this Saturday morning with you all. I will share a few of my thoughts through the experience that I've gained, various management roles that I have played. And I will give you a rough overview of how I'm going to make this presentation. I have about 30 slides here, and I'll take you through this over the next 1 hour. But the basic idea was to bring up in this forum for discussion on how we can lead change. In the sense, we don't really have to be leaders to bring about the change that we want to see around us, primarily with the goal of discussing how we could make our workplaces more productive. So we come from different workplaces, different industrial setups, and they may not be an issue that is common to all of us. I may have an issue in the kind of workplace I have, it may not be an issue for you. So we take up some general topic which we all can relate to, so that we can discuss how this concept of leading change can be implemented. And then we look at a role model. And then I'll share some of my experiences on how I tried to lead change, and also lead this session for a small debate at the end of the topic, where I'd like to hear some of your views also on how some of the concepts that we're discussing can be implemented, or whether it is impossible, or whatever it is. I'd like to end this with a small discussion. And at any point of time, if there's something that you want to add on to what I have listed in any of my slides, please feel free, because I'm not an expert in management. I'm not a qualified MBA or anything like that. I'm a pure academician. I've been teaching for 25 years, pure computer science, and so if there's something that you can add on, it would be nice, because it is a knowledge sharing forum, and we are all open to sharing our knowledge here right now. So I come from the VIT University Chennai campus. I am a faculty from the electronics department, and recently our university was ranked #1 private university in India by MHRD. The 4,000 institutes applied for this ranking, and there are many IITs and NITs behind VIT in the ranking. Basically, I brought up this slide because I've recently moved to VIT. I was in 20 years in another institution, and what I observed from VIT is it is a very productive workplace. There are a lot of strategies here which turn out things from students to faculty, and that is why I think it is leading change, the much needed change in our education system. And I just want to start with this slide. Of course, there will be negatives in every workplace, but I think in a way it is leading the much needed change in the education system. So the overview of my presentation is, I've chosen a very light topic for discussion, being a Saturday morning. So we'll phase it out in 4 parts. The first, we take a general topic which we all can relate to, and that would be about water management. Recently, we had so much of water, and people were dying because of water, and now we have people dying for water. And so, what's happening in 4 months? We had too much of water, and now we don't have. So, what is happening around us with regard to water management? Some thoughts for change we can include here. And somebody wants to pick it up and put it into their election mandate. Good enough for us. So we had a very productive session here. We can consider it that way. Then I'd like to take up a small example of a social entrepreneur. So it may not be in your workplace. It could be something that you're doing over the weekend, and you can bring about change. You don't have to be an elected leader. Don't have to evolve a leader. You can just get people to follow you if you have the passion. And then I'd like to talk about the workplace. So when you think of a workplace, there are two entities. There is work and there is workforce. So what I produce from the college is what you get as workforce. So most of the time I find all of you telling me most of the students are not employable. But the fact is they are not sometimes educatable also because there is Google. For them it is just Google. So, so there are some issues in trying to make them employable, and I would like to share some funny anecdotes of how we deal with college students and how the magical transformation comes from you have to force them to work, and suddenly they become the force behind your work. So I also want to hear from you where does this magical transformation happen, and we will discuss that. And also, I'd like to throw open for discussion the topic of whether the organization structure which is there in India and abroad, is it flawed or is it the way it should be in India? And whether a change in the organization structure itself from hierarchical to a flat system could make the workplace much more productive than what it is. Now, I'm not an expert in most of these topics. I just put it together so that may be of interest to you. So if there is something that you feel I should have been added on, please stop me. Otherwise, we can have a discussion during the last part of the talk. So we'll start with looking at some crises around us. And these are the kind of pictures that we see as we wake up every morning, currently happening in our neighboring states and also slowly cropping into our state as well. So, like I said a few months ago, we had too much water and suddenly we're all peeping into wells and hardly finding our own reflections there. So, what is really happening? Where is all this water disappearing? And is there something that can be done by us sitting here? We are all very fortunate to have had a lovely bath, and we have the power, and we are able to sit here very comfortably. So being fortunate, can we do something for the less fortunate? Using technology itself, can we do something for this crisis-like situation in our country? And these are the kind of pictures we see, and it's very disturbing. And the people who are elected leaders, who are supposed to take care of these issues, are not. So we don't really need to worry about that. There are situations. We are going to take an example of a person who completely removed the middleman and dealt with the problem, and we will look at it during the next subsection. So is there something that we can do as engineers, or even driving from our workplaces, the workforce that we have, if we could drive a passion towards some cause? I mean, if you have the power to change what you're working on, or if you have the scope to bring in some kind of creativity, or if you are in an influential position to decide on what your workforce has to focus on with regard to the technology, and if there's something you can contribute for this crisis. So there are some points which are being put forth here. So we always show this out to our students, these kind of pictures, just to try to motivate them. And recently one group of students won a first prize in an innovation competition where they came out with some innovative design for water supply. So what is the fundamental problem? Where do we have to start to try to solve this crisis? The fundamental problem is trying to understand what is the water footprint for each. So we all were worried about our carbon footprint and so on. But there's something like a water footprint for each one of us. It is not really about the water we need explicitly each day to get to our workplace. It is not really about the day-to-day usage of water. It is also about the products that we use and we consume, the products that we consume every day, the products that we use, the products that we buy. You have to take all that into consideration to calculate your water footprint. So each one of us, our lifestyles could have a direct impact on the water footprint that we have. So we can audit. So you can start with auditing yourself and trying to see what is the change I can bring in to this crisis by looking at my own water footprint. So here there is some data available for you to just get an idea, and probably you can Google, like how our students do, Google for more information. 39,000 gallons of water is required to make one car, and 1,800 gallons of water to grow enough cotton to make a pair of blue jeans. You need 3,000 gallons for 1 pound of chocolate. So 1 gallon is 3.7 liters. Okay, so if you want to think in liters, that's how it is. 900 gallons for a pound of cheese. And only less than 100 gallons of water each for lettuce, tomatoes, cabbage, and cucumber. So you may ask me, so what are you trying to say? Don't buy cars, don't eat chocolates. We all definitely want to look cool in those pair of jeans, and we definitely need that yummy cheese topping on our pizzas, extra cheese they will ask you, and so we don't want to give up on all these. So what do? So when I put this slide and ask my students generally, so what can we do? So you don't want to give up your chocolates and cheese, what do? They said, ma'am, why do they need so much water? Can we develop a technology where they don't need so much water? Then we can continue to eat our chocolates. So I said, okay, do it. So this is how we actually motivate our students to actually think of how we can do it. That's the kind of change that we need, each one of us can do. So these are the kind of thoughts that are coming out from your workforce, your future workforce who are in our hands today. This is the kind of thinking process they have. But somehow later I find many of them, they say that all our creativity is killed in our workplace, they say. But then I was telling them, then you are in the wrong place. So if you have a creative mind, you should go to the right place. So, so this is the kind of thought process. For example, there is a beverage company which was able to save about 25,000 gallons of water every day by simply recycling the water that they used for washing the bottles. Okay, so I don't know much more about this. I've not visited any plants. If there's anyone here who could add more. So they are plastic bottles. I'm not really sure at which point they really use these the process of washing the bottles. So recycling water. Okay, so whether it is mandatory is on government regulations and all these kind of issues. So leading this change in order to deal with particularly the water crisis could either start with you, that is the water check, having a check on your own water footprint, or it could be on one extreme, it could be on the government where they bring in some kind of mandatory regulations. Okay? So some kind of industrial regulations could be brought in, but whether the government will be open to this. So we know about how there is always a nexus between the government, the industrialists, and all these kind of things happen. So they make sure that these regulations don't come in place and so on. So you need to get the industry to audit the water usage. I mean, most of your offices also use water, but I'm talking about the industry which actually uses water in the process of making manufacturing the product. We need to audit the water usage, treat water as a valuable resource, reuse, recycle water, reduce wastage of water, and consider water, energy, and so on. there's so many ways in which you can make it mandatory, bring in regulations in the industry. Now you can also have a very good control over the groundwater with today's technology. But today, what is, as I mentioned earlier, there was flooding, and now all the wells are dry. So there is some process of illegal, just like how there is sand mining, there is water being drawn. So you may have a neighbor who has a bore well and it just draws water, and then your water table goes down. So there should be some kind of regulation in groundwater usage. So there should be a control of the groundwater withdrawal. There is a gross misuse in several places. Lots of measures need to come in. And with today's technology like IoT, we can definitely come out with ideas, be a role model in the first place. You can help to install this in a particular area. Maybe if you're part of an industry, occupy a large area in the villages around you. Show a role model system to the government. Get them. So these kind of things you can demonstrate to the government and also tell them about how these things can actually be done. You can have sensors below the ground trying to measure the amount of groundwater, and beyond a certain limit, you can bring in some kind of regulation of use, because otherwise we're going to get into this crisis-like situation every day. So what we need to bring in is accountability. One, I need to know how much of water each one is using. Second, transparency also. So these two things, there should be a system where the water that is drawn from the ground is recorded, and probably taxes be brought in for water usage of the ground as well. So if you can't measure it, there is a saying which says, if you can't measure it, you cannot manage it. So this is the problem. We're not able to manage the groundwater because we have no clue how much is there and how much of illegal drawing of water from underground is happening. So we should try to develop some kind of technology, and we should tell the government, we want this, we want smart metering, we want to bring this into our system. And as technologists, we should be able to demonstrate and ask the government, why can't you bring this in? What is the issue? And these are the kind of things we can do from our side. Water quality is another thing. So beside underground water, we can also look at the surface water, the ponds, the pollution, all these kind of things. You need to curb the pollution, and the government should be the role models in waste water management and so on. Okay? So this is just a general issue that all of us can relate to. So there are ways in which we can lead this change that you need to bring in our environment so that this water crisis can be dealt with effectively. Okay? So if you are an industry which uses water, then you can demonstrate it by showing that yes, this can be done. This for water washing, you need only so much water. You need not tell them how they've done it, but you can demonstrate it to the government, and then the government will have the confidence, okay, all of you, you can have a company, but you should use only so much water to make a car. Okay, so if you need 39,000 gallons, if you reduce it to 20,000 gallons, then you can demonstrate it, and you have to help the government to have the confidence to bring in these kind of regulations. So this is one way in which you can lead change, either as an institution or as organization, or as a startup company, or as an individual, or as an association, as a group, as an individual. There's something that you can really do about for the society or some socially relevant problem as well.
Yeah, I have a question here. See, how the other country avoid this problem, this kind of water management problem?
Yeah.
Is the problem only in India? I think it should be there everywhere.
No, actually, I have read about some models. Like in fact, India is studying the model from Israel, particularly. I've read a little bit of that, but it's very country specific, because in some countries, water is available, but it is not, the minerals in the water are not really good to use, and it's about the quality of the water and so on. So they have different issues in each country. But this is a very India-specific problem that I see. Everything illegal, sandwich, illegal, and so that's why I'm going to come to the next example of, okay, so we are in India, we can't change that. I think what I'm talking about is an India-specific problem. There is some between the user, maybe the government also wants to actually, they want to reach out to the common man, but there's something called the middleman. So we need to bring out technology to actually remove this middleman, and that is the next example that I'm going to talk about. Okay? So we look at one example of how we can lead change, and the example that I have taken here is the change brought about by the social entrepreneur, world-renowned social entrepreneur, Dr. Verghese Kurien. So if you go to the wiki page and just say social entrepreneur, after Vinoba Bhave, I think if you look at Indians, try to see, I see only his name. There are a few other Indians also. So it took so many years to actually bring up one more social entrepreneur onto the Wikipedia page. So what did he do? So it's not really easy to present the entire story of how he actually built this entire concept. So this was a success story of how they actually removed the middleman. So in a small town in Gujarat, most of us know the story, but just quickly a recap. A small town in Gujarat called Anand, there were lots of middlemen who were exploiting these farmers who were able to provide or supply milk like 1 liter and 2 liters of milk, and the entire day was based on the money they got out of just 2 liters of milk, and they were being exploited. And finally they reached a point of protesting, and they went to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and he told them, why don't all of you get together, all of you have a problem, so get together and, it's like it's to form a society, and directly you sell the milk. I mean, why do you want to really... So they were all farmers, they were illiterate, they were not educated, so he put Verghese Kurien there to help them to actually structure it in a very effective way. They removed the middleman, and if you can just see, they directly pass it on to the nearest cooperative society. There are very good videos which actually show this Amul story, how the milk goes from the consumer, from the supplier, goes to consumer without getting into the hands of the middleman. So they get the entire benefit of it, and the consumer also gets fresh milk. There were a lot of issues about the milk getting spoiled by the time you reach because it was changing hands and so on. So this story of Verghese Kurien, which took India, which made India from a milk deficient region, that region, Anand particularly, it made it the largest producer of milk in the world. From a small town, India became the largest producer of milk. So if you can see, there are some statistics, a lot of information on Google. So a lot of statistics of today currently. So who owns this company? It is the 3.6 million farmers who supply this milk every day. All of them own it. Okay, so it's a cooperative society. And then since they do not have management skills and they do not have, they need some engineers to run their plants. So they've employed engineers, they've employed managers, but they control it. They have the full control over it, and this is a fantastic example of how. So he's not as a founder chairman, but actually it was started, and after 2 years, Verghese Kurien joined, and then he formalized the whole thing for them and helped them out, and he became world-renowned social entrepreneur. So there's some simple idea that you can take to a forum and help them to organize. If you're really passionate about it, you can definitely do it, because all that they wanted was somebody genuine to lead them, somebody genuine to lead change. They did not want really a leader. They just wanted somebody to guide them and mentor them, and they brought about a change and then the government adopted the policy of this entire structure, and the National Dairy Corporation was formed based on this principle. So the farmers taught the government how to run a dairy. So that is the story of Amul. And on a lighter side, besides the organization structure and all that, even the ads are the most noticed, very relevant, and even odd people like it. every time there is any kind of headline in the paper, we search for the Amul ad and we try to see what is the Amul ad. So there is no replacement even for the Amul ad, which we look out for even today. But the student passed away in 2012, leaving behind a tearful, not one village, the same concept spread to neighboring villages, and his story is all there for you to go and read and get inspired. So we move on to the topic of, okay, so these are some ideas. There is a problem. So you can't say, okay, I can't do anything in my workplace. If you can't do anything in your workplace, go out to the streets. There are so many things you can do there. So the third thing is about the workplace. So let's get to our workplace. It's not with any specific strategies that we want to discuss here. I'm not an expert because I'm coming from an academic background. The industry setup is very different. So I would like to just talk about the workforce. So in a workplace, there are two entities. There is work and there is workforce. So you have to get this workforce to do the work. And these workforce are what we are molding. So I will tell you about how I have been dealing with 18 to 21-year-olds over the past 25 years and this magical transformation that happens when they enter your industry and how they turn around to become the workforce. So the year joining today, we've told them you all are the workforce 2020. So the students joining in 2016 will be known as the workforce 2020. So we've been keeping this 2020, by 2020 we have to, so 2020 is almost here. So now we have to say, okay, 2025 we'll do this, and we just keep pushing our deadline. So in order to lead change, we do this in college, in a home, as a family, as friends. We always do this, and even in the industry, I'm sure you are having numerous opportunities where you'll be asked these questions of what would you like to stop doing, what would you like to continue doing, what would you like to start doing, and what would you like to consider doing. So in order to bring about change, you first have to understand the current system very well, and you have to know what you want to stop, continue, start, and consider very clearly. And only then you will be able to bring about the change. And of course, you need to know why you want to stop it, why you want to continue, also as well. Okay, as much as you know that you want to stop and start, continue, and consider. So Gen Y is very different. I don't know. I see some very young faces also here, but mostly if you look at those in their 30s and 40s, if you see, look at this generation, those who are in their 20s, college students now, they're very different from us. I don't know if our parents also felt that we were very different from them, but with regard to their attitude and all that, they are very different. So they're different. They're not, I wouldn't say better or worse. It seems like they are, we've written them off. They are, you hear parents, saying that I lost hope in this guy, but they are very smart, very interesting, and you need to understand them well in order to utilize them effectively. So managing 18 to 21-year-olds has been the management experience that I had over the 25 years. Now, to put it in a nutshell, they are constantly asking questions, and their answers are also very interesting. So that is so today teaching is not as easy as it was earlier. The kind of questions, for instance, they'll probably ask you a question like, is it wrong to smoke while you're praying? So then you'll say, of course, it's wrong. What do you mean? When you're praying, you smoke. And then they wait for you to stop. And then they'll ask you the next question. Is it wrong to pray while you're smoking? And then you'll say, okay, there's nothing wrong. Then the third question, then what's the difference? So just two activities. I wanted to do it together. When I asked you the first question, you said no. And I asked you the same thing, you say yes. So this is the kind of questions that they ask us. Very challenging, very interesting. They send me out of the class thinking all my way back to my cabin of did I say the right thing, and very interesting they are. And also their answers are also very interesting. There are a lot of jokes that circulate about college humor and so on. So this is something which I picked up on the internet. Of course, I didn't want to pick up something from my answer paper. It's very, when we sit together in a room and we correct papers, we just laugh and laugh and laugh. The answers we write today. You can't put it right, you can't put it wrong, and it's a lot of fun. So, and these are some of the okay? So they're very interesting. It's really not that they don't know the answer. You're just having fun, and you have to join with them and have fun. Otherwise, you'll just be out of their path. So what I do is, how do I make this workforce productive? So that is my talk. So when I was I joined VIT recently, so I was in Venkateshwara Engineering College for about 20 years. I was the head of the computer science department, so I had 800 students to manage. So what I used to do is on the first day of the first 1 year I allowed them to rest because they would have worked very hard in the 12th standard. They are, catching up with their sleep. Okay, 1 year, they settle up. On the first day of the second year, I bring them straight into a hall like this, and then I can hear them asking what is it, and they say, no, it's a motivation talk by HOD and so on. And finally, I put up this slide, and they see that WhatsApp, because you can communicate them only through that WhatsApp symbol. Okay? So then they look at the symbol, and then they're all awake. And then I ask them, what's up next? So they say, we just landed up here, and then you're asking us, what are you going to do next? So I said, I'm going to take you through 1 hour to help you to reverse engineer yourself so that you can get your dream destination. So very conveniently, they said, no, we don't know what we're going to do next. Some of them are clear, but mostly they say, we don't know what we want to do. So I said, fine. There is a slide for everybody. There's a slide for a guy who doesn't know what he wants to do also. So wait for that slide. So I keep telling them there's a slide for somebody who wants to start up, a slide for somebody who wants to go to the US, want to do a direct PhD, MS by research, every possible thing I have a slide. And I make a to-do list. And if you look at the to-do list, you have to start today. And not today, you have to start now. You have to start working now in order to get to your dream destination. So I send them back home with this slide. And in the evening, I get an SMS. So there is a slide. If you want to become the CTO of a company, you want to become the CEO of a company, I put a to-do list. Then in the evening, I get an SMS, I get a WhatsApp message from a guy, from a student, and he tells me, ma'am, today you told us all that you need to know to become a CEO. But can you tell me what is the minimum you need to know to become a CEO? They only want to know the minimum learning part because Google is always there. And anytime you give them a project, you ask, Java, this, don't worry about us knowing. Anything can be learned in 24 hours. This generation, any technology can be learned in 24 hours. I don't know how they manage it, but in college, and they do it also. You give them a project and tell them to complete it, they do it in 24 hours. So this is the kind of students we try to turn them around. Most of them do turn around, but sometimes I keep wondering how you really get work out of them. Whether you understand them enough, because we have 4 years and they open up very well with us. And I generally tell all the faculty in my department that students who get a lot of love and affection at home come to college to study. And students who don't get that love and affection come to college to get that love and affection. So with just a little bit of motivation and guidance, you can turn around any guy. That's what I've kind of seen. Whether drug addicts or whatever it is, you can turn around anybody in college. But finally, that kind of attention and focus and deep understanding of every student, it will not happen, I don't think, at workplace. If he doesn't perform, he's out. It's such a fast-track thing. But I don't think today's generation is worried about you throwing him out. He'll go out and start his own company. Okay, so we have to be worried about throwing him out because he may start a company better than ours. that's how it has changed. So coming back to our own workplaces, okay. So we have fundamentally. So this is something we've always seen and lots of quotations we see. This is so true. I find you find three kinds of people: people who discuss ideas all the time, discuss ideas; people who discuss events; and people who discuss about people all the time. Okay, so they are great minds, average minds, and small minds. You'll find these kind of people everywhere. So you don't have to worry, oh, this guy is always sitting and talking about others and ill about others and so on. But if you notice, and there are people who discuss ideas and don't do any work also. Okay, but they are better than people who are not giving ideas. So it is. We find a lot of students are there. They are able to give ideas that can really revolutionize, but they won't really do any work. In fact, my second son is a very lazy guy. So whenever I try to get him to do something, he says, in one of the interviews of Bill Gates, he heard Bill Gates saying that when Bill Gates has a very complex task to do, he looks out for the laziest guy in his office because he'll come out with the easiest solution. So he said, you don't worry, Amma, Bill Gates will find me. So that's, so I really give up on, so we try to understand them and go along with them. And that's the advice I want to give you, because what I'm producing in the college is what you are taking in as your own workforce. Understand them. All of them have a talent in some way or the other. I know guys who have been only sleeping in the last bench for 4 years and they own 4 companies today. Okay, and there are first toppers in my class. I really don't know where they are today. Okay, so it's really not about their academic performance, but now when I connect with them over LinkedIn, so recently I revamped my LinkedIn profile and I was connecting because I moved to BIT, so I wanted to connect with my 25-year alumni. So they were all connecting with LinkedIn, and there was this guy who's working for LinkedIn. He said, "Ma'am, what fun to connect with you on LinkedIn." And I can only remember this guy bunking class, and he's never finished my class. So it is really nice. So every profile which pops up, I just look at them and oh my God, how did he achieve all this? And why did we not understand him better when he was in college and so on? Amazing. For each profile, when they send me an invite, I just create my profile and all of them keep connecting, because they look very different today. So it's very difficult for me to figure out if they were students. So, and for every profile, I'm like, wow, okay, how did this guy achieve all this? What was his success story? And so on. Thank you all very much.
What a wonderful session. I think that's turned to be a debate or a knowledge sharing. It was their sharing session, what we had today. And thanks, madam, for giving an opportunity for us, for the entire Chennai chapter members to share their views. I think this is one of the forums where sharing has been one of the major discussions going on. Okay. And on behalf of Chennai chapter, I would like to present you a momentum. I would invite Ram, President, to hand over momentum.